Hi everyone, and welcome back to Movies Reloaded. Today, we have a 2016 horror thriller called Bedevilled. This is a great one, so with no more hold-ups, let's get right to it. The start of the film shows us a young woman in Seoul being harassed by two guys on a fairly busy street. She runs up to a car to ask for help, but as she begs and slams her fist on the car, the window is rolled up and the car drives away. We then meet Hae-won, who is driving to the police station to identify the boys who had assaulted the young woman the previous night and eventually murdered her. We realize that she was the person in the car whom the young woman had run up to. Being a witness, Hae-won arrives but tells the police that the young men in custody are not the killers as they don't have the skull ring she had seen on one of the men. As she is leaving, the two men follow her and threaten her further to not rat them out to the police. Later, when Hae-won is at work, she goes to the bathroom when someone locks her inside. She notices the pink slippers worn by the person who locks her and eventually escapes the stall by climbing up the walls. She spots the woman in the pink slippers and slaps her across the face. Just then she notices another woman wearing the same slippers. Her boss calls her in for the assault and she is suspended. When she goes home, a man delivers her the mail from her letterbox, saying that it was overflowing with mail. She takes the mail in and doesn't read it. A few days later, Hae-won decides to visit Moodo Island. There she had once visited her grandparents and befriended a local girl called Bom-nam. Bom-nam has continued to write to Hae-won over the years even though Hae-won never writes back. In need of a vacation, Hae-won sets off and is greeted at the harbor by Bom-nam. Bom-nam is ecstatic to meet Hae-won and takes her suitcase up, telling everyone that Hae-won has arrived. Hae-won is taken to her grandfather's house, but when Bom-nam returns with some food for her, Hae-won has fallen asleep. However, we soon see that Bom-nam is treated inhumanely by her family and the islanders. She is made to be a physical and sexual slave to her husband and made to do hard labor by her neighbors and such. Bom-nam also has a small daughter called Yuni. The following day, Hae-won walks to different places on the underdeveloped island. She has an encounter with Bom-nam's brother-in-law who offers her herb and tells her to chew it. She immediately spits it out when the bitter taste floods her mouth. As the man steps closer to Hae-won, Yun-hee arrives and the meeting is broken up. Hae-won and Yun-hee spend a lovely afternoon together, hanging out near the beach and making ornaments. When they return to Bom-nam's house, they can hear the loud noises of a woman. Bom-nam tells them to go to Hae-won's grandfather's house and stay away. This is because her husband is inside with a prostitute from Seoul. Afterwards, the prostitute apologizes to Bom-nam, explaining how her husband had paid her boss thrice the usual amount to get her out there. She also tells Bom-nam to come to Seoul with her. But Bom-nam wants Yun-hee to grow up having a father figure. Later that day, when Bom-nam is collecting honey, her husband distracts her, which causes the bees to sting her. He later offers her bin paste to apply. When Bom-nam visits Hae-won, she asks the girl how she can tolerate all this and tells her to start looking after herself. Bom-nam returns home to see her daughter applying face cream and nail polish. When she demands where she got these things from, Yun-hee replies that her father gave them to her and that she also wants to be loved by him. The father in question arrives and beats Bom-nam for interrogating Yun-hee about the things, spilling nail polish all over her face. That night, Hae-won gets the message that she has been laid off from work. When the call doesn't connect, she decides to leave. Outside, she finds Bom-nam sitting on the porch. Bom-nam asks her to take her and Yun-hee to Seoul with her, as she had promised to do 15 years ago. Hae-won tells her she can't manage it this time. Bok Nam begs her to at least take her daughter as she is scared her husband will rape her. Hae-won reprimands Bok Nam for saying such crap, which is overheard by a local woman. The next day, Hae-won finds Yoon-hee and tries to ask her if her father sexually abuses her. However, she is interrupted by the woman who overheard her last night and Bok Nam's mother-in-law. They take the girl away as the mother-in-law tells Hae-won that Bok Nam is a liar. We then see Bok Nam contacting the prostitute after not finding any help from Hae-won. The prostitute agrees to arrive the next day on the boat. Early the next morning, Bok Nam tries to sneak away from home with Yoon-hee and steals money to give to the boat driver. However, the boat driver refuses to drive away as Bok Nam's husband appears. He drags Bok Nam up the mountain, beating her up. He gets really violent and Yoon-hee tries to stop him by biting his leg. He grabs the girl by the hair and throws her aside. She falls and hits her head on a rock. Bok Nam goes hysterical as he tries to tell her the kid is fine. A police officer arrives to investigate and the wretched man blames the entire thing on Bok Nam and how Yoon-hee hadn't wanted to leave with her mother and the mother had gotten too forceful, which resulted in the accident. The officer also calls Hae-won for her statement, but she doesn't get involved, saying that she was asleep. When the police officer is about to leave, he waits for Hae-won as she had said she'll ride on the boat with him to go back home. But the village women all insist that the men all accompany him, and they all leave. When Hae-won arrives, she sees that she has missed the boat. The women tell her she should be with Bok Nam as she must be grieving her dead daughter. That night, Bok Nam comes to Hae-won as she sleeps. Hae-won dreams about the time when they had been children and some boys had come to bully them. Hae-won had run away and watched from a distance as the boys harassed Bok Nam. Hae-won wakes and throws up. As the women of the island relax, Bok Nam alone digs up the potatoes. She stops and stares unblinking at the sun. When she goes to the women, she tells them that the sun spoke to her and they make fun of her. This is the last straw for the victimized woman and she jams the sickle in the woman's throat. And so begins the killing spree. Bok Nam kills the 3 women and then chases her mother-in-law until she jumps off a cliff to escape, but dies when landing on the rocks. Bok Nam proceeds to behead her brother-in-law with her sickle. As Hae-won witnesses the murder, she next attacks her husband and the boat driver, but they are warned by Hae-won. Her husband begins to beat her up and then ties her. He holds a knife to her throat which she begins to lick. The man gets aroused and using this distraction, Bok Nam bites his hand. When he goes to get an axe, she takes the dagger in her mouth and stabs him. Hae-won and the boat driver make their way to the boat as Bok Nam is caught up with repeatedly stabbing her husband with her sickle. But the crazed woman catches up to the boat and kills the boat driver when he tries to untie the boat. Hae-won manages to speed away in the boat. Bok Nam follows her to Seoul by ordering a boat. Meanwhile, Hae-won is taken into custody when she reveals that she had actually witnessed Yoon-hee's murder but Lee. Bok Nam arrives in the city and is surprised by a man's common kindness. However, she tracks down Hae-won in jail and after incapacitating the officer on duty, she tries to kill her childhood friend. The officer manages to shoot her and she finishes him off with an axe. When she goes after Hae-won, Hae-won stabs her in the neck with the flute. As she lies bleeding in Hae-won's lap, Bok Nam retracts the flute and wordlessly asks Hae-won to play the flute. Hae-won cries as Bok Nam dies in her arms, her hands imitating the movements of playing the flute. The next scene shows us the island, and we see that all the murdered victims have been buried and cremated by Bok Nam, leaving the island void of human life. Traumatized and guilt-ridden, Hae-won realizes the repercussion of her lies and actions and points out the culprits of the sexual assault she'd witnessed to the police at the start of the film. After returning home, she takes Bak Nam's letters out of the trash can and reads them, regretting not helping Bak Nam when she had the chance. I hope you liked the video, so do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.